ระคุณแผนผงไพรกุมารเนื้อเขียวลงสายแร่ทองคำหลวงปู่ทิมอิสริโกวัดละหารไร่ 2515 PE First Prize Trophy Winner Certificated. This amulet was entered into competition at the Samakom Anurak Prak Krương Lung Putim Luat Ban Khai of Ajahn Pisek at Wat Pai Lam Temple, a famous temple very close to Wat Laharn Rai in Rayong in Ban Khai municipality, which was often visited and performed ceremonies and made amulets also by Luang Putim at Wat Pai Lam, and the competition was held there. And here we see a picture of the front face, which we're going to examine the amulet first in normal full view, and we can see this is a Pim Lai Hlum, meaning hole next to the shoulder, which you may have noticed on the front face, with Takrut Mahaprap, single Mahaprap Takrut, which is good for Maha Amnat, anti-black magic, and to rid of one's enemies and obstacles, with the Yant Grabong Kwai on the rear face. And we can see Sai Re Tong Kam, gold flakes, which comes from the pressing of the wet clay into the stone or metal block press, which had Naman Pajau Taksin oil inside with gold flakes in, which were then absorbed and sucked into the surface of the amulet. The green powders are a mixture of Pong Prai Kumarn, here we can see laid against the certificate it received, and trophy, which it also received. The green is basically Pong Prai Kumarn and Muan Hlong, which is a herbal vine tincture, which was used for food coloring in those days before people invented chemical food colors. But it wasn't just as a food coloring, it was used as herbal remedies and for tinctures. And in this case, this Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn has been treated with Muan Hlong Khiaw, green herbal vine Hlong vine tincture. Hlong means kind of lose your way, because if you come across Hlong in the forest, this very thin vine can entangle you like a fairy circle, and you might go around in circles in the jungle and can't find your way out unless you pay reverence to the spirit within the Hlong. So this herb was used to apply. But you can see the surface has Pong Prai Kumarn and Pong Lop, the fine Yantra powders, rising up through the gold to the surface. We can see on the edge here that you can see both the Sai Re Tong Kam gold affixed, which cannot be scraped off with fingernail or anything. It is tightly affixed, with the green Hlong and Pong Prai Kumarn and Pong Lop fine Yantra powders and Kumarn bone powders rising up to the surface through the heavier particles of Muan Sarn, which are contained and were once one mixture substance as wet clay, and through the drying process have separated, and as contraction and drying and the wetness evaporation has caused the finest powders to rise to the surface. You may notice on the Sankhati sash of the chest of the Buddha and the most protrusive areas of the Buddha of the amulet, such as the lotus petals, the legs, the arms, the face, the chest, you can see a marbled, rubbly, dak lai nga, broken ivory crackled effect. That comes from Hniaw Sukh and contact with the atmosphere and skin and surfaces, and that it is the most protrusive area, so it gains the most contraction and drying because it's the most exposed to the surface. Here we can see a very, very beautiful model with a very nice frame around it, which is wider and not so high and tapered as the block song, Pim Neom. This is a Pim Neom Pim Lai Hlum, Lai Hlum, which if you look next to, on our left, to the right shoulder of the Buddha, our left, there's a little dimple next to the ear of the Buddha above the shoulder, which is what gives this Pim, this model, its name, the Pim Lai Hlum. And you see the sash of the Sankati chest with its rubbled, marbled appearance, the presence of Hniaw, Sukh, and also the presence of the appearance of the shrinkage through atmospheric conditions and drying and exposure to oxidization, which also has a part in the various colorations and tones which appear on the surface of an amulet, but not always within if you cut it open and look inside, because exposed to the atmosphere means oxidization, which is part of the process of how an amulet attains its beauty over the years. And it's interesting to keep amulets in different environmental conditions, one in a dry room, one in a moist room, one you wear, one you don't wear and keep in a box in the dark, and look over 10-20 years and see how they look after, and you will see how they change their appearance, and so how they have been kept throughout the years, or how they have been worn or not worn, and which weather conditions and what working conditions the person who wore them had is going to affect also the appearance of the amulet. But with or without that, this is instantly recognizable and documentable as Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn Pim Lai Hlum. Yeah, but not block song. It's block Pim Lai Hlum, and some people say that the block 2 brass block press, in order to make the Pim Lai Hlum, they put a jewel inside which caused a dimple in the chest. That's impossible because the jewel would roll around and cause a dimple in different places. So that's just a rumor, if you ever heard that story. Secondly, the Pim Lai Hlum is much thicker, therefore the block press was also thicker, because the Pim Lai Hlum is much more expensive to encase in gold because of the thickness. And gold casing, the gold is not in the window on the front, it's on the border on the side. So how thick the amulet is dictates not just how big it is, but how thick the border edge of the amulet is dictates how expensive a gold or silver casing is, because it goes by weight. So we can now see a nice side view, so that we can see the recesses and some thrown shadows with the light from one side a bit, which gives us another perspective. I always tell my students to turn the amulet around and also move the light around, and move the amulet around in your hand and try and catch the light from different angles, so you can, because anything that has a 3D relief, a raised relief on a flat surface, is going to throw shadows. And so some of the tamni, points of recognition, you might not see because they lie in shadow. So you have to move it around so you can catch the light on every feature and facet of the amulet. Yeah. So now, one more, a little above, out to our left, above the shoulder and next to the ear of the Buddha. So the Buddha's right and ear and right shoulder, but to us, the left. There's the dimple just going out of sight at the top of screen. And that makes it a Pim Lai Hlum, which is a much more heavier and kind of powerful feeling. Khun Phaen has a bit more chunky feel to it, and very popular with men because of this chunky feel. And for those who like to invest in gold anyway, because gold jewelry is more expensive per weight than gold bullion, and if it has an expensive amulet in it, or a high-class amulet in it, a gold frame increases the price of an amulet anyway, by more than the price of the gold. It's just a fact in any country, not just Thailand. So here we can see the beautiful markings of the Pong Prai Kumarn and with green tint of the Thao Long herb, which I would say there's more evidence of Pong Prai Kumarn because the Thao Long would give a darker effect if it was in greater quantity than Pong Prai Kumarn and Pong Lop. And the fineness of the powder also says that this is the powder more than a liquid tincture mixed with the powder. So I would call it more Pong Prai Kumarn risen to the surface. But this is called Ton Khiaw by the society. By me, I call it Nuea Khiaw, ผสม Muan Thao Long, white Pong Prai Kumarn powders with Muan Thao Long, green herbal vine tincture, forest vine tincture herb, sacred vine tincture herb, and Hniaw Sukh with sticky rice, which you can see on the chest and on the protrusive areas of the face and the bulging areas of the forearms. And shortly in the video, we're going to go into some close-ups, macro, times 10, 12, 15, maybe even 20, I don't know, because I zoomed. So I hope none of it gets too blurry. There might be the odd blurry moment, but this will give you a better look at the Muan Sarn, sacred powders and ingredients, than videos from, I believe, most other channels. I've seen a few channels do quite clear pictures, but I've been told that my pictures really help people to study, because from photographs it's very hard to study. The colors aren't the same as reality in the light, artificial light, even in sunlight with a camera. Each camera has a different RGB or YCMK color gamma. And every screen you use to look at a picture on also displays differently. If you have night mode on, it's going to be yellowish. If not, there'll be more blue tone. So it's very hard to get the tone right, which is why you see some of these pictures look slightly different, slightly more yellowy, and others look more golden and dark green. It is actually more dark green and very, very golden. So this lighter colored picture is actually too much light on it. But never mind, the point is that with much light you can see the detail and the crispness of the amulet. So this is important also to catch some detail, but not to say that's what color it will look like if I buy it and it ends up in my hand, if I rent it, sorry. In Thailand we say rent, actually it means buy, and I like to say buy because even though they say, well, you can't keep it when you die, so it's just rented. Actually, you don't rent it, and the people who give it to you also don't get it back when you die. So actually, it's a sale and a purchase, and I find that a great pretentious statement, but it's a Thailand cultural statement. So to respect it, we say rent, and just to keep the tradition. But one should not get the wrong idea about that. You're buying it for yourself, and you think it's yours, and they're selling it, and they're thinking they've sold it. So anyway, we can now see again much closer now as I'm starting to go into macro and see the details and the surface, the powdery, fluffy Pong Prai Kumarn, the fluffy Sairai Tong Kham, gold flakes, the Hniaw Sukh, rubbly, marbled, fossilized effect, the beautiful hands, the Takut Mahaprab, which has absorbed the Sairai Tong Kham gold flakes too and looks like a gold Takut. And actually it's not, but it's become completely covered in gold. And the protrusions of the Yantra Bong Khwai, or the Yant Phra Phutta Chau Ha Phra Ong, or Yant Ong Phra, the 5 Dhyani Buddha Yantra of Hlum Putim. They call it the Yantra Bong Khwai or Yantra Bok Khwai. Here we can see the relief and the depth in the armpits, the affixed Sairai Tong Kham gold flakes, the powdery look of the surface powder risen, but the marbled effect of the actual dried clay underneath this powder that is risen to the surface. You can look at the face and see the sticky rice in there, the fossilized effect appearing on the Sankati sash, on the chest of the Buddha, the bubbles to the right above the shoulder of the Buddha. On the right side of the picture you can see bubbly effects. In fact, all over the surface you can see bubbly effects of risen, kind of looks like topography, like the landscape of Mars or something. And here on the rear face, a little bit too much light, I have to say. It's a bit darker and more contrasted than this. The greenish powders and the lines of the Yantra are should throw more shadow. I've blown the shadow away with this. But you can still see the fine details and the separation between Pong Prai Kumarn, the Sai Re Tong Kham, the Takrut and the Yant. This is much more close to the real color of the amulet. In fact, it's perhaps as close as you could get with photography. So this is what you should judge as more or less what the naked eye should see. Notice once again the dimple in the surface of the amulet between the left pillar and the head of the Buddha. You can just see a slight dimple above the shoulder. Lai means shoulder, Hlum means puddle, so it means puddle above the shoulder. And that's what defines this block press as a Pim Lai Hlum, proving actually that the 2515 BE edition did not just have the block tong Luang or the block 2 press and multiple versions in case one broke, but it also had the Lai Hlum block press, because it would be impossible to use the block 2 brass block press and put a gemstone in there to make a puddle in the shoulder, above the shoulder of the Buddha. The gemstone would roll around in the oil in the bottom of the block press. You couldn't do that. You need a separate block press, and it would be thicker. It would be thinner if it used the same block press. This block press was thicker, and it's very much rarer, even though the Pim Yai Niyom without the Lai Hlum puddle is already, of course, extremely rare in itself. And it's lighter to wear, slightly smaller as well as thick, not as thick. A matter of taste, really. Differently, each one is preferred by different people. And so this amulet is one of very few I received in this particular kind, with such fluffy green powders on them, and is highly preferred for fans of Pong Prai Kumarn, the Kumarn necromancy, and the famous Pong Prai Kumarn of Hlum Tim, any Khun Phaen or Luang or Pong Prai Kumarn amulet of Hlum Tim, which reveals itself to be oozing with greenish fluffy Pong Prai Kumarn. And if the gold Sai Re Tong Kham has the fluffy appearance, from my experience over decades now, I don't know, I've lost count of being in the amulet world, I have seen that that is the most preferred in general to most people, especially those who adhere to necromancy. And a lot of people find that beautiful, including myself. And Pong Prai Kumarn, Pong Prai Kumarn should ooze with Pong Prai Kumarn. Although I must say that I think the most popular, rarest and expensive and hard to find amulet and in demand is, of course, the blue-colored Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn in Lai Hlum, or in fine powders, or in sticky rice or grayasad. It doesn't matter. Blue is the number 1 preferred, and green is perhaps the number 2 preferred. But it changes, as I teach and people learn about each one. For those who never got the chance to study, who can't understand Thai, it is changing as I publish, because each person, as you get knowledge about each kind and Muan Sarn, each people, then if you have knowledge, then you can develop a choice and a preference. Like if I buy a new motorbike, I like to study all the reviews and look at the comparisons. And so if you study each Muan Sarn, you can see which one appeals to you. And so This particular one is going in the shop at ancientamulet.com, and of course my VIP customers can contact me privately because they get a special price for being regular customers and spending decent sums of money over time. Yeah. And otherwise, this one, if you're watching this video now, you're probably watching it either on YouTube or within the write-up of this amulet in my online shop at ancientamulet.com, or you might have landed on khunphaen15.com, which I use as a second emergency website. So just let us enjoy now a little bit of examining the amulet, and shut my big but informative mouth for a moment. And now I'm going to open my proverbial big but informative mouth again and lead us through a closer look at the Muan Sarn, this time with a dark vignette to reveal the interior and illuminate it better without destroying the color tones, the natural color tones. I love how around the top knot, the Praget Mala, and the crown of the Buddha, you can see the slow forming of the green Pong Prai Kumarn powders, slowly rising above the golden Sairet Tongkam. I would think 50 years from now, you might not be able to see the gold on the front. It might be completely green. And you can just see insinuated the details of the face. So it's not, you wouldn't say Piminamita, you can see the eyes and the face and the nose, but you can, but just slightly because of the rubbly Hniaw Sukh sticky rice and the loss of detail through exposure to surface. And on the Sankati sash chest, this rubbly, uneven, like topographical hills and valleys and cracks with rivers inside, this marble effect just shows the shrinkage and collapsing and craters that have happened over time as the wet clay has dried and contracted over the years. Yeah. And the arms, you can see the thickness of the arms and the Sairet Tongkam within, between the torso and the arms. On to our left, you can see green Pong Prai Kumarn starting to rise through. To our right, you can see only a small patch. The arms themselves, at their most protrusive part, have no Sairet Tongkam on them, whereas below, near the hands, in some of the recesses and less protrusive, and on the inner edges of the arms, which are less exposed, you can still see the green powder has not risen through the Sairet Tongkam gold. Yeah. And it hasn't pushed it off because it's so affixed, it is one substance. As to the legs of the Buddha and the beautiful slender hands, you can see the Sankati sash above the hands, the little dimple from contraction, the cave there. You can't fake that. And this Muan Sarn with sticky rice and Wan Thao Hlong and the natural aging and natural contraction through drying from wet to dry clay, you need roughly about the time for the date of these amulets, which is approaching more or less half a century at the time of making this video, in about 2022. Yeah. And a very beautiful amulet indeed. especially for those who like the green Pong Prai Kumarn. And on the back you can see also the fossilized effect around the lines of the Khom Akara inscriptions and the Yantra design, and the edges of the Muan clay, how dry they are, where the Takrut Mahaprab has been pushed through, where it pierces the sacred Na of the top of the Yantra sacred Yantra of Luang Putim. Well, actually it's a very ancient sacred Yantra, Yandong Prat. Yeah. Yantra is what the people of Ban Khai, the devotees of Luang Putim, called it. But its real name is the Yant Ong Prat, or Yant Prat Putta Jau Ha Prat Ong. And inside it says the words Natmo Puttaya, which is to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And one single Takrut Mahaprab. The single Takrut Mahaprab is rarer to find in any model, be it a block song, Tong Luang, Pim Lai Hlum, or a block Lai Hlum, puddle in the shoulder. Both models you will usually find with twin Takrut Issarigō, or the special models with 100 Takrut, 300 Takrut, 1000 Takrut, 21 Takrut, 9 Takrut in gold or different metals. Here we can see from the edge again the face of the Buddha and the ridges of the Praget Mala, and where the nose and cheeks would be, we can see the Hniaw Sukh and the fossilized effect. And in between those ridges in the recesses we see powder, crab. The same thing here, in the recesses you get one effect, and in the most protrusive areas a different effect and more contraction, where the wet clay was more exposed to the air, more oxidization. Around the neck and chest area you can see where recesses have formed through contraction, and then the powders have not risen up. You can still see Sairet on Cam, golden flakes. That's because of the recesses, less exposure to the open air and to skin and to your clothing. Because don't forget, many people in the times of this, when this amulet came out, did not wear waterproof. They would put some chuak, some cord around it and hang it around the neck and let it touch the skin, which is why a lot of them have this effect. And those which don't will have been those which they just kept at home and didn't wear, or didn't wear much, or did encase later, and so on. So you can find all sorts of appearances and older and less old looking versions, because it depends how the devotee or devotees, the owner/owners, have kept them over the years. And this is beautiful. This is the Sankati sash in close-up, so that you can really see the rubbly effect and the marbled effect, the Hniaw Sukh sticky rice, and the Sairet on Cam affixed golden flakes. Yeah. And this one. And here a closing in to show you how from smoothness, as we come in close, we can see the extreme rubbly fossilized effect of the surface of the Muan Sarn. And now once more closing in again on the Takrut Mahaprab on the rear face, for a closer look at the Muan Sarn of the Pong Prai Kumarn Muan Thao Hlong, and the raised surface, the raised ridges of the sacred Yant, this time with some shadow thrown, so you can see the age and rubbly effect of the Akara, the different Khom Akara, and the lines of the Yant, and how affixed and embedded the Takrut is, which can only happen with natural aging. And here the thickness of the Sairet on Cam, and you can see little patches of green bobbly Pong Prai Kumarn, and the surface of the Akara lettering embossed upon the back of the amulet, pushing through. And here a very bubbly green Thao Long, Wan Thao Long and Pong Prai Kumarn. This is more Wan Thao Long with sticky rice. Yeah, the green tincture with the rubbly, glassy, sticky rice poking through, and the bubbly effect on the Sai Re Tong Kham gold flakes. You can also see the sticky rice starting to push through, which is what also gives irregularity to the lines of the yantra because of the coarseness of the Muan Sarn in the sticky rice, even though the Pong Lop and the Pong Prai Kumarn is very fine. So you have coarse molecule powders, pigments, sacred powders, and fine pigment sacred powders mixed together into one clay, and through the drying process they separate through gravity and various atmospheric influences. So here we can see a pure section of Pong Prai Kumarn tinted with the Wan Thao Long with little flecks of Sai Re Tong Kham visible under it. So the Sai Re Tong Kham was on the outer surface, but in patches because of the fineness of the Pong Prai Kumarn being a smaller molecule than the molecules of the Sai Re Tong Kham and the Hniaw Sukh, which is in chunks, not molecule, not powdered. They managed to push their way through. And the Hniaw Sukh also is visible where it protrudes from the surface and absorbs the Thao Long herb, and therefore appears also green, because both the Pong Prai Kumarn and the Hniaw Sukh sticky rice absorb this green tincture. The gold does not because it's metallic, but the bubbles of the sticky rice pushing up through the gold can be seen. Hope this makes sense. If your eyes look and your ears listen, you will see it makes sense. And here we can see the crossover of appearing Pong Prai Kumarn pushing through, some that is pushed through and now overlays the surface of the Sai Re Tong Kham, yeah, and becoming patchy and slowly covering the surface, which is probably also bacteriological. There's probably a growth there. There is probably a biology to this, or a bacteriology to this, yeah. And don't forget, it's famous Chinese mushrooms have healing qualities, so, and not all bacteria are dangerous. Some bacteria like penicillin actually heal. And here we have the rubbly effect again, and the Sai Re Tong Kham. Perfect to see the aging, contraction, sticky rice, Wan Thao Long green tincture, yeah. Although you don't see much fine Pong Prai Kumarn in this particular section of the amulet. No amulet should be covered with the same. An old amulet which has crap or some kind of residues and mildews should appear the same all over the surface. It should have differences. And this one does, as it should, in an authentic model. And this is a first prize trophy winning model anyway. So it's not just one I deemed fit. It is one that also my friend Ajahn Pisek, the president of the Ban Khai Lumbu Tim Amulet Association, also agrees with, and who gave first prize to for its beauty. So, another quiet, shut my know-it-all, big but informative mouth and enjoy a view of the close-ups of the Muan Sarn and make your own observations. And so now one last look at an overview of the Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn Pim Lai Hlum Nuea Khiaw, or Nuea Pong Prai Kumarn ผสมข้าวเหนียวสุก Hlong Muan Thao Hlong และสายแร่ทองคำ would be the proper full stipulation for this amulet. And a nice view and admiration of the beauty of the surface of this amulet when you see it close up. Absolutely incredibly beautiful and full of study material for the serious student and devotee. A first prize winning green Khun Phaen Prai Kumarn rare Pim Lai Hlum, and a first prize winner. Not that I am known to be a fan of certificates and trophies, because for me beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, and a first prize winning green amulet might not appear as attractive to somebody who likes a red one or a black one or a blue one, or a white one, or one with 108 gold tukrut, or one in 5 colors with a solid silver Yantra foil hand inscribed on the back, or one with a ivory Hanuman or a pet Mahalap goat from Lumpa inserted into the back. So, but anyway, for its category, not compared with other colors, it did win a first prize trophy for Khun Phaen in green color of the Pim Lai Hlum category. And so I suppose it has value in that sense that it is not compared with other colors, and therefore was the most preferable of the day presented in this color, in this model. I can accept that. But the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and if you like black more than green, it doesn't matter if it has a prize or not. But if you like green and it has a prize and it's beautiful, and your eyes like it with or without a trophy or a certificate, and your studies see this authenticity, look at the aging, look at the surface textures, look at the natural aging process that comes with certificate, trophy, and its complementary prize-winning box with the tie number 1, which is the spiral shape in red you see disappearing at the top of screen, and its certificate number, which in this case is, I believe, if my eyes are proper, I can't read because I'm using an iPhone, I read 0205, I think. 02005. I can't read. I'm sure you can see. And so if anybody wishes to contact about this amulet as a VIP to ask for a discount, they contact me online at Thailand Amulets, or they email me at thailandamulets@outlook.com. Otherwise, you will be seeing this in the shop, probably as of mid-March 2022. And here is a picture of the actual certificate from the Phaen Prai Society, which won first prize. And there is also a trophy that comes with this amulet, and of course the complimentary box and the amulet. And of course, discounts for VIPs who know to contact me, regular customers, and ask. Ajahn Spencer for Amulets TV, Amulet School, the Buddha Magic Project, and my own channel. And for you and your own studies, signing off.